School Ministry. Good morning, Will.
Morning.
And Will and I are missing our expert this morning, Leanna Butterfield. Unfortunately, Leanna had an appointment and had a conflict that came up and is unable to be with us today. So, Will, it looks like you and me, and I know Leanna's here in spirit and always gives us advice and wisdom. But we will be talking today about Follow-Up Friday, admissions and enrollment, and telling the story is our topic today that we will go through. So we thank all of you for joining us. Why don't I start us in prayer, and then we'll have a great conversation with all of you talking about enrollment in our Lutheran schools. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this wonderful and glorious day. We especially give you thanks for our Lutheran schools, 1,855 of them with almost 22,000 educators teaching almost 180,000 students across the United States and this world. We give you thanks for bringing those families to us and for giving us the opportunity to share your gospel message with all of our students and families, with one another, and with our community as well. Be with us this morning in our discussion as we explore enrollment in our Lutheran schools, retention, recruitment, and all the joy that we get from seeing those students in our seats as we share the gospel message with them each and every day. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. So Will, this could be a little interesting. Will's going to be running the PowerPoint as well as that fancy switchboard that he has over there, and he has pulled out all the stops for us today, as you see, with the microphones, the switchboard, and everything else. So Will has taken us high-tech and fancy today, haven't you, Will?
I'm trying my best.
You see as well our new logo colors. We've gone from green to blue, and we'll be utilizing those from here on out. Please note our Facebook page, LCMS School Ministry, Twitter, who is now X.
Yep.
Gotta love that. Elon Musk and the X factor now, I guess. And our YouTube at School Ministry. Tell the story. So our follow-up Friday today, and we were discussing this a little bit yesterday, and you mentioned the fact that it sounds like a lot of our episodes are more marketing than they are enrollment and admissions. And in reality, yes to all the above, right?
Yeah, they go hand in hand. You cannot have admissions without marketing. That marketing is what drives those people to your school, and that's where you can capture them and bring them in.
Yeah, and I will say today, not only does it drive families to your school, but it also retains families in your school, which is why the title is really Tell the Story from Inquiry through Graduation, if you're high school, or through 8th grade graduation. Now we have kindergarten graduation or early childhood graduation. Seems like graduation all over the place, but in reality, what you're doing in those events, you're celebrating and you are telling the story. So that's what today we'll discuss. And again, it is marketing and enrollment. They do go hand in hand. You have to get people to your school, interest in your school. But then on the admissions part, you have to make sure that it is ease of enrollment and that you're providing for the families when they do come so that you're taking them from inquiry to entry in the school.
Exactly. And, you know, the big thing, too, with this is with marketing itself, you're talking about all of your social media posts, but it's also, as we talked about, as Leanna talked about, you know, those yard signs is a great way people driving by, even the signs hanging outside your building, just trying to notify the community who you are and generate that interest.
And it is interesting, and again, I'm a big believer in survey work and asking your families and focus groups, getting information back that you can utilize. It is well noted that one of the worst ways to market is to send out postcards.
That's true, and it's expensive, very expensive.
Your return on investment is awful. But believe this or not, Will, did you know that the one entity where that's not true is Lutheran schools?
Really? I had no idea. I've always heard that statistic that postcards just don't really work, but That's fascinating.
Interestingly enough, Lutheran schools are an outlier in that fact, and postcards for Lutheran schools, I have no idea why, but studies show that that is still a good method in terms of marketing and recruitment.
Must be all the smiling faces, right?
I think that's it, yes. And it comes down to this as well, a compelling story, and making sure that you're telling it, and you're telling it all the time. And I think sometimes we're, in general, and I'm talking about all companies, not just Lutheran schools here, miss out is they go a little bit too far, and instead of really telling the story, people have to figure it out. You know, get to the point, give them a good story, make it compelling, make it short. They want snippets. We live in a snippet world today.
Well, and that's where when you start looking at your Facebook, especially if you're doing videos, you know, you're looking at a 3-second retention rate, a 10-second retention rate, and then that usually snags them into a full minute. But in general, people are not willing to last more than a minute on a video. TikTok, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, even Twitter, they'll just keep scrolling past. So it's got to be engaging right away.
Yeah, we're giving you here some elements to a compelling story. Number one, it's the people. You know, I brought this up last time. I go to a lot of websites. I see a lot of Facebook posts and so on. And a lot of times it's the building. The building is not what people are coming to. They have expectations for that and some other things. But what they really want is they want the people. And we always talk about relationships at Lutheran schools. And that's a compelling story. Tell the story of the people. Tell the story of your students. It's great to tell the story of your teachers. Why are they there? Why are they doing this work in a Lutheran school versus a different school? How does it make it different there?
Exactly. The building is nothing more than your setting. And when you're looking at this marketing component, this admissions component, you know, when you bring people in to tour a building, as a former teacher, you know, the enrollment person never just kind of walked the building and then that was it, showed them the walls, showed them the gym floor. It's always the stop, talk to the teacher, share what you're doing, talk to the students, let them share what they're doing, because that is what captures people's engagement.
And as a Lutheran school, what are we doing? We are showing our Christ-centered environment. We are a faith-based school in all things that we do. It's about the relationships. It's about the people. It's about the students that they'll be interacting with. It's about the teachers. It's about the administrators. You want to show off the community. What's the community? The community, that's your people. So really focus on that and flesh out some of those compelling stories. Our teachers have great stories about why they are in the vocation of being a Lutheran school teacher. Students have great stories as to why they're at the Lutheran school and how they are developing in that Lutheran school in so many ways. So focus on that.
And that's the motivation right there, as you nailed it. It's the Christ-centered building. It's that component that is there that drives all of our actions, which brings us into that next step, the action, right?
Look at you jumping on all those.
I know. It's like we made a list or something. We got to follow it. But the action component, again, it's showing out how the students are living out the Christ-centered, Christ-like life, as well as why are they there at the school, and then the results. What is that final piece? So I know in our marketing on this one, it's inquiry to graduation, so we tell a story of the people, the motivation behind it, but what is that end result that's coming out of the school that those parents want to see and capture?
Exactly, and I think that's very important. So the inquiry part on the people, the motivation, the action, and the result, I always say that's the focus on making it easy for people who are interested in your school, and you're catching them or hooking them to be interested in your school, and you're doing that with the people, the motivation, the action, and your result for that is to get them enrolled in your school. And then you're also continuing to tell this story throughout your school. So you want to focus on all grades and what's going on. The end result, you definitely want to follow up. If you go through 8th grade, where are your students going after that? Tell the story of how well prepared they are. We hear this all the time. If there's not a Lutheran school that's close by and they have to go to a different school, we always hear back how well prepared they are, their behavior. you're telling that story. Make sure that you do that so that people know, again, inquiry all the way through graduation.
When we talked about 8th grade, but high school too, right? You're having students graduate out of high school and move on into the rest of their lives, and capturing those alumni, their stories, where they're going, what they're doing. Again, another great marketing component that is going to just tie fantastically into the admissions and enrollment portion.
And there are just amazing stories out there of our Lutheran high school graduates, from becoming professional athletes to chefs to doctors and attorneys and citizens in their community. That's one of the things that we know. Lutheran schools generate incredible Christian citizens in the community. We are providing the next generation of Christian leaders. So make sure that you talk about the results and you show that. And I'm going to throw one more thing in there because this statistic that I'm going to talk about here, I think it encapsulates, focusing on this story, especially of Lutheran schools. Less than a quarter, 22% of middle and high school students said that many or all of their teachers make an effort to understand what their life is like outside of school, according to the survey of more than 88,000 secondary school students between October and December of 2022. I use this when I talk about our theme for the school year, being connected. That's why it's important to tell the story. One of the questions that parents have these days is, how will my student be with relationships and in the school environment? How will they grow socially and emotionally, and as well as academically? What kind of programs are there for my student? Tell the story through that storyboard that we showed before, through all those different levels, so that parents can see the amazing things that are happening with their student, and first and foremost, that relationship that they're entering into and that faith-based environment that they are in throughout their time. Today we talk a lot about social emotional learning, and I know there's a lot of social emotional learning programs that are out there, and concerns from parents with social emotional learning. And I always speak when someone asks me about social emotional learning programs. We've had that in our Lutheran schools forever because of our faith. Love God above all, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Knowing that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, each one of us have been given unique gifts. We get to give that message throughout every class that is taught all day long, in our religion classes and chapel messages, in all of our co-curricular activities. So I think tell that story again of what it means to be in a faith-based environment, and how it's not social emotional learning, it's biblical-based environment that's our Christian lifestyle. It's our law and gospel. We get called to repent. We repent. We are forgiven. We know this. What a great message of our Lutheran schools. That's our foundation.
It is, and that's what makes us different. Really is what makes us different. When you hear about parents, and we hear this all the time when we do NLSA visits, LSCS visits, with the focus groups or Genesis visits, it's always the, why this school? It's the connection. The kids are different. I can't find this anywhere else. It's not there in the public school. We can't find it at a charter school. It's only right here. And I think you nailed it right on the head there, Al. It's everything that we're doing in that Christ-centered fashion.
Yeah, so tell that story.
Exactly. So how do we do that?
Well, that's great. So, and Will, you're very good at this. You do this all the time in our social media, but create a narrative, and we put with your caption here. So don't make people necessarily work for it, is how I always think of it. Be blunt, just be right there. Give them the information so that they see it, and not only visually, but with the script as well.
Well, and that goes with everything too. So when you're creating that narrative with your caption, that narrative is everywhere. That's your website. That's going to be your social media. That's going to be your talking points in person. And you need to have that very clearly lined out that anyone can memorize, right? It's that elevator pitch idea. But also in terms of when you have a prospective family, what do? They're going to be checking out those Google reviews. They're going to be searching for your website. going to be searching your social media. They're going to know more about your school that you've posted online than you think. And if the first thing they see on the website is, well, outside of the buildings are great, don't get me wrong, but they want to see the kids, but they also want to know what you are. What is your mission, vision, and purpose?
Yeah, put it right out there.
Yep.
Make it easy for them.
Yeah, we're not hiding anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, let them link to your Facebook and your Instagram and tell that compelling story, and let them hear it from those that are there. Again, that's our focus. Let them hear from a teacher, let them hear from a student, let them hear from a parent at all these different levels so that they can easily say, you know what, I'm thinking about sending my child to this Lutheran school in 3rd grade. Hey, it'd be great if they had a connection point and a story about 3rd grade.
Yeah, well, and what I've seen is becoming more and more popular is podcasts, right? Everyone can start a podcast in their grandma's basement, basically.
We're proof.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a great way to have your students, your staff, do a 10 to 30 second sound bite. Put that on your website, put that on your social medias, have that audio overlaid on Facebook posts or videos utilizing services like Canva, which also has a free teacher license. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But also that video footage, make sure that you are capturing what's happening. Also, when you're capturing that video footage, do make sure that people are smiling, it is very important, right? Nobody wants to see a straight face.
Well, and I'll expand on that just slightly. Think about that when you are telling the story, and not just the smiling, but see what's going on in the background. Mm-hmm. While you want your buildings nice, neat, clean, and usable, people don't want to see a disaster in the background, boxes and papers flung all over the classroom or hallways or whatever else. Now, the exception to that is if you have an exciting building project, you're doing a time-lapse video, and they're seeing the future. Then you can have a little bit of a mess, right? But make sure it's clean, neat, and that you're telling a great story.
But that also goes with another idea too. So if you are filming a video, right, and you're doing an interview, show that your school is alive. Show there are people there in the background. I can't tell you how many times I see, even from large companies too, they'll do just a quick short video, and it's behind a blank generic basically white wall or brick wall, and that's not engaging. I know you're wanting us to focus on the person, but you can have some life to your building and personality, and that comes from your students and teachers.
Yeah, and really, again, it's action. That's telling the story. Showing your students engaged in a lesson, engaged in an activity on the playground. You're telling me that interaction and what is important and what takes place at your school. So that's telling the story. User-generated content. Everyone has a cell phone today and video, and they love to take pictures. So before it took a lot on us to create the marketing. Now you can engage your parents, your families, to do some of this for you.
Yeah,
and very high quality too.
And that's why you have to be out there and have a presence, right? Because those prospective families, they're going to be looking at this stuff, and they want to see how other families are connecting. Well, a great way to do that is making sure those families are tagging you in their posts. So if they're at a sporting event, make sure they're tagging you, and then you can reshare what they've done. And then it's creating this kind of cyclical ecosystem of just mass marketing. And when a prospective family sees that, because I know I'm in that process. I have a 3-year-old. We're starting to look for different preschools, and it's, what looks like the good community, what looks like the environment we want to be attached with.
Yeah. And it's a good idea to engage others to do just this. Ask them to help tell the story. And give them some parameters. Just like Will said, ask them, hey, if you're going to one of our games or one of our events, tag us as a school. If you have a great story to tell, do it in 30 seconds and send it to us. Give them some parameters and some ideas so that you can help them help you.
Oh, definitely. And in that user-generated content, we can move into the short video format. That's super popular, that TikTok, Facebook Reel style. Vertical, that's very important. So make sure things are framed vertically in the 9:16 ratio and capture that in the background. And again, make sure you see what's in the background. But also giving them those few talking points And again, keeping it short, sweet, to the point, but also a hook within that first 3 seconds to keep people engaged and staying on it.
That's a great point. You want a hook in the beginning and you want an action item at the end. So think in that regard. And if you need help with that, ask.
Exactly.
We're happy to help in that, and others are as well. And you hit on that, create a short video. And Will, you do a great job at that. Anything else you want to say about that short video?
So on one of our Wired Wednesdays, so if you pump out a lot of video content, there is this program called video.ai, not sponsored. I just really like them. I use their service. So if you have pre-existing YouTube content or videos, you can drop it in there, and then it'll use AI, figure what might be the most engaging clips or different topics in there, and it'll create it to a 1-minute video that you can just instantly put in. It generates the captions for you. Verify the captions are correct, right? Make sure all of the grammar, punctuation is good. And then on top of that, it'll just download it for you, drop your watermark on it, and then upload it. Super easy.
We are a school, so I do encourage you, especially on your website, documents, check for grammar, check for punctuation, and so on. People do evaluate on that as well. I'm going to do a shameless promotion here. I think you have some video examples up on our LCMS School Ministry Facebook page, and with the AI generated captions and everything else. So if you want to see what those look like, go to our School Ministry Facebook page and you can see several of those.
It is, and it's expanding and it's getting better and growing right now. This stuff is in its infancy, but it is making that marketing life a little easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, create an infographic. Well, I don't know if you're as big of a fan of infographics as I am, but I think you can tell a lot very quickly in an infographic.
You can, and it's engaging. One of the best things I learned about infographics is when you are developing those, don't be afraid to just focus on small portions. So something that might draw a person's eye there, you can put a lot of text under there. They'll read it and then do the same in other different locations. So you can really fill up those infographics. And a great website, I absolutely love it, Canva. It has a free educator license. So that's giving you access to all of the paid premium pro content out there, absolutely free, utilizing your educator license on it.
Which is awesome because, again, we talk admissions, enrollment, marketing. Our Lutheran schools, they all kind of wrap together.
And it's usually maybe one person doing all three, right?
Typically it is, yes, unless you're so blessed to have an expansive staff. But there's a lot of tools today that were not there before that allow us to produce great content, great information at in a cost-effective manner, I will say. We make it look good, and it doesn't take a lot of money to make that happen. And I will also say about infographics, think about that. They're great handouts, great to put on, like you can even design a larger type of postcard and have those as handouts or available when people come in, or ask parents to take them out if they're going somewhere and distribute those. One of the things, if you're going to do that though, make sure it points back to contacting the school and you as an admissions person or someone at the school.
Exactly. It needs to, at bare minimum, have your website on it so they know at least they can find you. They don't have to do too much digging and searching and back-end work that way. One of the key things to do whenever you're trying to promote yourself to new people who have no idea who you are is, of course, you want to make sure they're doing bare minimum work to get back to you. If they're going to have to start digging for that information, spending extra time, they're more likely to stop. They're not motivated or as motivated as they could be. Absolutely.
Make it easy on them. It's great to embed a QR code inside of the infographic now that points to you as an admissions person. And the great thing about QR codes, again, they're free to generate and even free to put your logo inside of the QR code these days.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And QR codes specifically, one of the things I think there's some services you should pay for. And one of those is if you're doing tinyURL or another QR code generator, I recommend paying for it. You can put your branding into it, so it's not tinyurl.com. You can make it yourschool.com/. And then on top of that, you can put your branding, your logo embedded into the QR code. So again, you're tying it all back together. All of those visual points are going to be pointing back to you, and that's where they're going to go.
Yeah, it's just so much available to us today. Questions to ask when telling the story. This kind of helps generate that storyboard or that information. It also, I think, helps you engage others to tell your story, like we were talking about sporting events or co-curricular activities that are going on, a play, whatever the case might be. It helps kind of inform your constituents how to help you do this. Can you describe your school in 3 words? Think about the 3 words, maybe 5 words that really do say who you are and generates that story to others.
Well, and again, those are good talking points right there too. So LCMS School Ministry, encourage, connect, lead, grow. Those are all action words, and it gives a clear definition of what we're all about. So think about that for your school. What is your school all about? What are those 3 to 4 words that are your driving force that people can memorize?
Yeah, then are those the 3 words you want to be known for? So think about that too. Slide earlier, we're talking about generating that story. People will tell the story for you if you don't tell the story. Make sure that you tell your narrative that you want to tell. Don't let others drive that.
That's right. You are in control of the narrative, so make sure you maintain that control. Don't let other people start navigating away, changing certain words. I know that sounds a little forceful, but it's very important for maintaining that essentially a brand identity.
And it's easy to lose it too. So if you're not on top of it and you're letting other people generate those 3 words or information, and I think about a lot of, sometimes I said this in our communication with Dave Cushel and the Zooms. It's easy to lose control when some groups want different things on a T-shirt for their club or an event that they're going on or a servant event that they're happening, and they want to change the colors, they want to change the words. All of that then dilutes, and it does impact you. So you can go so far with that, but make sure you don't lose control of driving your narrative at all times.
Exactly. Well, and that flows into the next one. Are those 3 words how your parent audience already describes you? We are a big fan of surveys out here. You should always be surveying. I know it sounds annoying, but if you create a short 3 to 5 minute survey and pump that out at least once a quarter, you can see where parents are starting to identify different things, and you can help create and correct where they're going that way.
And your students too. Find out what words did they use. Just ask them very quickly, tell me the 3 words that come to mind when I ask you who we are as a school.
Well, and on top of that, I like the next one. If so, how can you continue to tell that story? Maybe you've selected some words that you think are amazing. They're great, right? But other people are perceiving differently, and they're better. So how can you take, again, this goes into that whole surveying mindset too, how can you take what your audience already sees in you, and how can you amplify that even more?
And I'm also a big fan of not only the surveys, but focus groups. Have coffee time with parents on a Friday morning at drop-off.
Oh, yeah, coffee hour. I mean,
great.
First off, parents, they want to get together. They want that social atmosphere. And providing any way you can do, coffee hour, snack time, even Bible studies is a great way too, where you're having that fellowship and gathering. And then you can also discuss these things too with it.
Yeah, so you're constantly reflecting. What's happening out there that maybe are great things that the parents can bring forth that help you tell that story. And it also gives you a chance to consistently tell your story to the parents and ask them to relay that to others, so it goes both ways. So if not, what needs to change for you to become the school you want to be? Almost strategic planning there as well, right? And that's another thing about admissions and enrollment. Has to be engaged in that strategic plan of admissions and enrollment knows a lot. They know why parents aren't coming. They know if there's a greater influx of inquiries or if they've dropped off, or families' perceptions when they're in the school. Make sure that they are engaged in this and understanding to give you this great information as to what needs to change for your school to become what you want to be, what people are saying, and where you want to drive them. And if it is being relayed that parents are saying you are the school that you want to be, make sure that you have that discussion. How do we maintain and grow that? So there's constant reflection on that. And then the goal isn't to manipulate your school's message. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to amplify your message. You are a Lutheran school, and you should be the school of choice in your community. So how are you amplifying that message so that people know and hear, and it's what you expect them to hear?
When it goes into the findings of the ACSI survey of be who you are, lean into that identity. And for us, we're Lutheran. Let's lean into that Lutheran identity and let's amplify it and make sure we're on track with it.
And we've talked about the ACSI, Association of Christian Schools International, did a survey. There's a book that they wrote. And, in school ministry, we pay attention to other school systems and what's going on, and research that's done, information they have. We're learners all the time, and we want to figure out how that information can help us and how it can help us help you. So ACSI surveyed over 3,000 schools. It's taken a look at parents and choices and so on. And out of that survey, as Will said, one of the key elements is lean into who you are. And we see that right now, more and more families, not only are they open, but they're very interested in faith-based schools. And we're able to capture that. So lean into that identity, lean into who you are. We talked about it a little bit before, and that's differentiation too. How is a Lutheran school and not the same as the Christian school down the street, or the Catholic school down the street, or the public school down the street? What makes a Lutheran school different?
Well, and a focus group is a great way to start figuring that out. One of the things I like too, you brought it up, as school ministry, we're always looking at what others are doing. As a school, you should be looking at what others are doing to capture those potential students, capture those potential parents. And one of the best ways to do that is just a general search. Look at the school down the road, look at their Facebook. Even go to YouTube, see what schools across the country are doing. I know you found these two videos here.
I did. Before we show those, I want to follow up on that just a little bit, that differentiation, because I think it's really important. There's another survey that I utilize. Will knows that I like surveys and I like seeing all these things go on. And this one is the top factors for choosing a school among public and private school parents. So this lumps in, all private schools, independent and Christian, and so on. So number one factor is academic reputation. You want to make sure that somewhere in your storytelling, people know that you have quality academics. Now that doesn't necessarily include telling the story of we use this math book, or we, take this test or whatever else. Show the success of the students in those areas and what's being achieved.
Well, and a great way to do that, if you have any kind of project-based learning going on in your school or an overall project, semester project, make sure you're showing that, capturing the video, capturing the images, having kids explain what they're doing, because that's tying all of the information they've learned together into an engaging presentation.
Yes.
And that's what parents want to see. Let's be honest, no one wants to see a flashcard of 2 + 2, right? But they do want to see, the science experiments from the science fair.
Absolutely, and they also want to know when my student goes to the next level, it might be 3rd or 4th grade, it might be 8th to high school, it might be high school to college, it might be college to career, knowing that it goes all the way back to their schooling there at your Lutheran high school, that they are successful in the God-given career, their chosen career, and that they're using their talents and gifts. So you're telling that story. Number two is safety, and I equate a lot of safety to knowing the students and relationships and showing that you recognize that as a Lutheran school. And again, you're showing that in a story that's told, not frightening people, but letting them know, that is an element of focus. And really, I'm getting down to number three here, instruction and character and values. A lot of our families who are coming not from a Lutheran congregation, they want to know about character. They want to know about values. What we explain that in terms is we're a faith-based school, law, gospel. We're accountable and we're forgiven. This is who we are as Lutheran schools, and I think that really drives that identity factor that you were talking about as well.
Well, it's that end product we always hear. It's always, oh, your kids are different than everyone else. They seem just beyond where they should be, beyond their peers. And again, Christian character right there. That's what's setting us apart.
Yeah, and it's using terminology that people can easily understand, but it's showing your values and your base and who you are as a Lutheran school. That really does set our schools apart, and I think that is a driving factor right there. Something that parents kind of think about and know about, but don't fully understand in the school environment. We have a real opportunity to engage them with this.
Yep. So,
yeah, now
we can go in there.
Sorry
right?
about that.
Oh, no. So again, searching for those ideas. Doing a generic YouTube search is always a great way to do that. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. See what the other schools are doing, what other people are promoting. So here's one that you have: Day in the Life of an American High School Student. We'll start that. And so it looks like we're having a little audio technical issue here, just trying to get this, but you can see if we start skipping through, it's a 14-minute long video, which in and of itself, a lot of people aren't going to sit there and watch, but you could take something like that and distill it down into a 1 to 3 minute video.
Yeah, and I brought this to Will because I'm a big believer in telling the story, the videos, the engagement. I think it's great to have a student tell the story in this way, from when they get up in the morning, the excitement that they have to go to school, and here he was cooking breakfast, the ride to school, the school day, 14 minutes, probably not something people are going to watch. But you can compress that video and speed it up where it becomes a minute, 30, 2 minutes, and it's I think very fascinating for people. I actually did a video like that one time because we had international students that we recruited, and it was good for them to have an understanding of a day in the life of a typical student in our school. We also did it with one of our international students so that they could see, the day in the life of international students staying with a host family and so on.
Yeah. Well, and so we can see here on this bottom one, it's showing the teacher's perspective for an elementary school, just showing what the first day looks like for a teacher getting ready. And I believe in this one, they go in and then they put the GoPro on maybe that's the next video. The GoPro's on a student, showing the student perspective.
Yeah, no, the teacher put the GoPro on themselves in this one, so strapped it on. In fact, the videos, Will has shown me some today that are very simple, very easy to do. But what a great way to do this is just show a day in the life of one of your teachers and give people the element of how many times they interact with the students and what those interactions look like, the relationships that are built, and those opportunities and engagements that go on in our Lutheran schools each and every day.
Yep. And you can see here in this one too, this is the one where it's the day in the life of a kindergartner. So showing, what it looks like from the kindergartner perspective, it's a great marketing tool, especially if there's some fun, exciting event going on. And again, though, 3 minutes, this is something where you have to be very motivated to sit there and watch. I will say, always make sure that the students can be pictured in anything that you're posting online. It's becoming few and far between now that we're seeing where parents are saying no. But, you always got to make sure you're respecting those rights of the Child Online Privacy Protection Act, and making sure you're respecting the wishes of the parents as well when they say they don't want their child pictured. So whenever you're posting stuff, verify, make sure it's good to be posted there.
But I think of these, what a great video to show, the first day of a kindergarten student. And if you have someone like Will that's thinking about early childhood or kindergarten, that perspective from that child. What if you have an athlete, and you can put a camera on them and show them practices or whatever else. So many things that we're capable of do today that help us tell that story, engage prospective families, and keep current families engaged in our school as well.
Well, and thinking beyond that too, right? There's a lot of anxiety even for the students when they're going into kindergarten, first grade, or a new school. So something like this can help ease that anxiety. It'll give them a little bit of an idea of what to expect walking in. Even if the video is a year old, it still gives them a good idea and might help alleviate some of those tensions. They'll still be there, but it's not going to be an unknown for the child.
I think what students don't realize, teachers have anxiety too, right? Kicking
Exactly.
off that new school year and stepping into the classroom and getting going. It's good to get that first day out of the way so that you can get back to some, as Warren G. Harding, one of my favorite presidents, said, just because of the statement, a return to normalcy.
Well, and in this one, so that is me talking. We'll skip past that. But we run a series called Wired Wednesday. And in Wired Wednesday, we're looking at different online tools as well as different equipment that's perfect for the school. So in this one, it's called the Insta360 Go. And it's just a tiny camera. So you can see right there, that's the actual camera, and it's magnetic. So it'll clip onto you. But one of my favorite things about this, and maybe this just comes from someone who edits videos for a living, is the stabilization on a video can be a nightmare to do. So what this camera actually does is it has what's called full frame mode. So it locks its horizon. So in this example, we'll let it just kind of, there we go. You can see as it's spinning around, it's actually maintaining the image itself, which for someone who doesn't spend their life in Adobe Premiere Pro, having something like this is going to be a lifesaver for you, I promise. But other cool things to do when you're looking at, even if you're doing a GoPro. So the day in the life videos, I always love, but you can go beyond that. You can do things like if students are going to a museum, have them lock that in, have them start doing video presentations there that you could then post online as well to showcase, all the great events that's going on.
On the story.
The other idea that I loved from this too was if you are putting on some sort of production or a play, have the main character wear that camera or wear the GoPro and show from the perspective live on stage what's happening. It's a great marketing tool as a snippet to get people to come in and see those plays who might not necessarily.
So what's the cost factor on that?
Let me jump back in there. So this whole kit, as you can see here, is $434. You'd be looking about the same. It's comparable to a GoPro, but it's an investment you can use. And more importantly, since it's an action cam, it's very rugged. So if you're giving it to students to use, if they drop it, it's not going to break the first time around as if you give them a nice, expensive Sony camera.
Yeah, and what a great tool to have for your admissions and enrollment, and probably something you could find a donor for, or even at that $400, $500 level. That's not bad when you think about the outcome.
Exactly.
And everything you can do with this. Will, we always, again, I'll go back to you drive your narrative or someone else will, and you brought to my attention School Digger. I've known about niche.com, greatschools.org, places that I go to find out information about schools. We actually utilize these sites when we do Genesis studies for a Lutheran school start, or looking at a school that's interested in growing and adding grades or programs, and they contact us for consulting services. We'll see what's going on and what the story is being told about their school through these websites as well. You want to talk a little bit about those? That's right down your lane.
Yeah, so one of the things I like about School Digger is it takes all of the public school data, so it'll show you the student-to-teacher ratio, average cost to educate a child there, all of that important data that when you're using to sell potential families on why your school is the place for them, it gives you all of that information on, your competition is you, right? Going back to our last one, but also your competition is down the street. What sets you apart from the public school, which some parents will be like, well, it's free to send my kids there. Well, you can give them the cost breakdown of it. You can show exactly what's going on, and then explain how you're different from them.
Yeah, and we should do this. Again, it goes back, what are others saying? And are they saying what is our narrative or something else, and then how do we lean into that to make sure that our narrative's being told. And it's also good feedback, so we should be learning these things all the time. I love these, you hit on there, well, what's the community look like? What does your school look like? What are people saying? Those promoters and detractors, are they engaged or are they not?
Well, and this is where I'll make a plug too for NLSA. So you can check out on luthed.org our NLSA resources. Even if you're not an NLSA school, you should utilize the surveys we have there, because we provide a parent survey, a teacher survey, a student survey, and a school board survey. But we also show you how to calculate those net promoter scores and how that is going to benefit you. Always be surveying, figuring out, what's making your school great. What are some areas you can grow in as well? That's always important, because NLSA is all about growth and excellence, and how can we make our schools grow. And if you aren't an NLSA school, this is where I'll make our pitch. You should do NLSA. It is a great tool. It's a great marketing tool, and it is a great admissions tool when you can tell your families, well, we are an accredited institution with National Lutheran School Association, which is recognized by the Department of Ed.
Yeah, and that's part of telling your story, right? That gives you the ability to tell that. So if NLSA is just utilized as we have accreditation, and that means that our teachers can maintain their state certification or something like that. NLSA is set up to affirm all the great things that you're doing, challenging you to grow, and allowing you to tell that story that comes out of it, because you will see a narrative. You'll see a story that develops of who you are as a school and the quality items that are going on. So utilize it for that. Not only is it recognized by the United States Department of Education, it's recognized by multiple state departments of education, other nationally recognized accrediting bodies. It's utilized by many schools. We're often contacted by schools that unfortunately we cannot provide accreditation to through NLSA because it is for our Lutheran schools.
Yep. I think it's great, but maybe I'm a little biased on it since we run it here.
Yeah, we can be biased on it, though. We do think it's a quality tool and something that's always under editing and trying to get better. So we're not constant on the accreditation protocols, because we always seek how can we make this better so that you as a school can be what you're called to be. And God calls us to be great places that are able to spread his gospel message. Educational excellence, absolutely, but first and foremost, we are Christ-centered educational ministries.
Well, and just kind of jumping into that, so we can look here, the Why Lutheran Schools. This is from our YouTube page. It's also on our website. When you're making a video, make sure you have a hook. Why Lutheran Schools? People want to learn about it. People want to know about it. But this is a short 1-minute video. I encourage you to go check it out. Just because we're running low on time, we won't play this one. But it's a great video from one of our Genesis studies from a pastor who he grew up in the public school system. That's where he went. Then he went to seminary. And now he realizes that Lutheran schools, because he's a pastor at a Lutheran school, why they are so important and why he wants that for his parents. And if you can capture those moments from parents, it's always a great marketing tool. And I hate to say it, it's a little emotional, right? But you're trying to hook them in. You want people who are excited and passionate about who you are.
There's nothing better than personal testimony. Other people can say it, and you can say it. Well, of course, and you said about NLSA. Of course, we're biased about NLSA. Of course, you'd be biased as the admissions person. But when you capture the parents, you capture their passion and how their child has grown in so many ways, that sells your school, and it provides people that story that they want to hear and know, because I'm giving you each and every day my most precious commodity, my child, and I want to make sure they're in an environment that they excel and cared for.
Exactly. Well, and one of the ways to help showcase that is think comprehensively about the benefits every team and department on your campus provides, right? Your athletics page, if you're departmentalized, your English department, science department, math department, how are they making a difference in the life of that child? And if you can do that breakdown and then you can start focusing, I really like this wheel you created here that just kind of encases everything to the singular point of what is benefiting that child, and then what is that marketing tool that brings in the enrollment of new children.
And again, utilize your resources. We try to provide things for you. There are a lot of other resources out there. Talk with one another as well. We have Facebook pages set up. Communicate with one another and explore how to best tell that story.
And when you are looking at, when you're developing your website or redoing your website, right, what is on your homepage? What is going to be pointing people to that? But then also, can they easily find what are your athletics programs? What are your extracurricular programs? If you're running email campaigns, can they sign up for it directly from there, or are they going to have to go through extra steps? And don't hide what the tuition is. That is a deciding factor for some people. So let them know what it is, but also check in your district. I know, like here in St. Louis, there are different tuition assistance programs that are available from different organizations. So do have that where they can navigate and find that as well. We want to make sure everything is there. And then, of course, with the advent of ESAs coming in everywhere, that's a huge benefit to those families.
Yeah, that's always an interesting conversation. Do you put your tuition on? Do you not put your tuition on? You always want to drive them to your school. A lot of people will say, set up a educational consultation, meaning basically you're sitting down with the admissions person or the principal, and at that point you can discuss financing and tuition. And with this, though, one of the things, and Will knows this because normally I'll let out some kind of a groan or something when I'm going to a website and it's one of our Lutheran schools and I cannot find immediately a phone number to call, to contact. And this happens to me more than what it should. Or I got to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and it's hidden down there somewhere. Or there's a contact us, and the contact us opens up just an email box instead of giving me someone to call or a phone number to call. Make it easy on people. You can't tell the story if they can't get in touch with you. So make sure that happens.
There we go.
Plus, it'll help me too when I'm out calling you as a school if you don't have that already prominently displayed on your website.
Well, and that's why I always like, if you're doing a contact us page, you can have your generic email box right there, but also on the side of it say, if you need to get in touch immediately, where to call, where to mail, right? You need to make sure you have that information available. And again, make sure you have that phone number right there. Otherwise, it's a detractor for people, for sure.
It is, and I will say this has happened to me before when I've searched for businesses, and you know what I do? I move on. I don't spend the time because it frustrates me, and I move on. You want to get people hooked and engaged right away.
Yeah, it's usually, I want to say it's about 10 seconds you have when a person lands on your website for them to find the information. Otherwise, they will move on. And anything beyond that, if they're struggling to locate, find resources, utilize your website, the frustration factor goes up. And the last thing you want to do is talk to someone who's already in a high frustration level, because conversations are a lot harder that way.
Yes, that is very true. Someone who's been in that situation. And here again, just tell your story on social media, your reasons for, not necessarily for starting the school, unless you are a brand new school and you're starting out, but your reason for being a school and who you are. What makes your school special, your program special. Examples of your successes. Again, we're kind of going over the same items just to reinforce. Utilize your people and your successes, your students, your educators, your community, your coaches, all those individuals that make your school a success.
What I will say, it is important for all of your staff members because they're going to be a marketing arm for you. But as a principal, as the admissions enrollment person, do know the history of your school. So I like the idea of knowing why your school started. When did it start? When were you founded? Because part of that, too, shows that you take pride in who you are as an organization. and you're not trying to shy away from it. You're not saying like, oh, we started in the 70s, but look at our shiny new building over here. This is what we want you to focus on now. Instead, focus on that history, tradition, and how that has informed and grown your school into what it is today.
Yeah, there's Will is an expert at that, so he does a great job. And if you follow, again, our Facebook page, it'll give you some examples of how to do that, and also Will's Wired Wednesday. Personalize your message for it to be effective and reach more families. Again, we are about personalization and relationships and so on, so make sure that it is personalized.
It is. And, you know, parents, as you say up here, parents are interested in more than just the statistics. Statistics are good. It's how we can market ourselves. It's how we can talk about ourselves. But you need a little more behind that number, a little more rationale, reasoning, and excitement.
Well, and I think, you know, just if you watch the news at night, you'll notice that the reporter is out in the field somewhere telling the story, and it's a personalized version of it. They're talking to an individual that's been impacted or the event that's going on, so that they personalize it and engage it.
Yep. Well, and again, you said it before, parents want to know that your school is the right choice for their child, most precious gift. They're entrusting you with their child. They want to make sure that that is the place that they should be. And that's what we got.
So we have just a few minutes left. If anyone has any questions or thoughts that you would like to share, please post those, I guess, in the chat. We don't have a phone-in number or anything.
No, you know, we
probably
should
do that at some point.
You know what we can do? So our little board here, we're going to get technical on this. We can actually take phone calls on this. So we'll connect via Bluetooth, and then we can talk to people live. I don't know. Always fun.
That would be interesting.
See, anyone want to take us up on that? So I'm not seeing anything in chat, so we don't
Great.
need to stay here. But tell your story. That is so important. It's who you are, why you're there, and that's what's going to bring in those parents.
And I'm a big believer in continuously telling that story. So make sure that it's coming from different voices, different individuals, but the messaging is the same. And again, from inquiry through graduation, so that people see it at all levels. If you're telling a story of a junior in high school and I've got someone in second grade, it won't personalize it or engage it to me.
Yep. And, you know, we have so many early childhoods through 8th grade. How cool is it when you have a child start with you in, say, some of our schools go down all the way to infants, right? And they're able to grow and move all the way till they graduate to 8th grade. That is a cool success story. That's something to highlight, share, and celebrate.
Absolutely. Blessings to all of you. Thank you for joining us today, and blessings on your school year.